Have you ever felt like a rock standing still in the middle of a storm, with no one asking, no one coming close, just silently enduring, slowly cracking, and no one even noticing? If your answer is yes, then maybe you carry the heart of a Capricorn. People say Capricorn is tough, strong, needs no one. But the truth is, Capricorn only learn to endure in silence because they know if they don't get back up themselves, no one else could really hold them up. And from that loneliness, they toughen up, becoming the rock others lean on, forgetting one thing: even rocks can break. Capricorn doesn't die from pain. They die from losing the belief that someone could truly understand them. They don't collapse loudly. They quietly fade away, like a flame burning out after a long night. And what kills them isn't a shock, isn't a tragedy, but the little things, accumulating day by day until hope quietly runs out. If you're a Capricorn, listen carefully. If you love a Capricorn, remember this deeply. These are the 5 things silently killing a Capricorn without anyone realizing until it's too late. And each of them begins with the things Capricorn never says out loud. Capricorn, in the eyes of the world, is seen as cold, stern, distant, and somewhat rigid. They resemble a silent wall, rarely smiling, speaking little, making anyone who approaches feel cautious. But what few people know is that this outer layer isn't their true nature. It's the armor they were forced to wear to survive in a world that isn't easy. A world where they grew up that didn't allow weakness, didn't forgive mistakes, and beneath that armor lies a heart that has learned to endure in silence. Because Capricorn is born under Saturn, the planet of limits, discipline, trials, and responsibility. Saturn has marked them with a rugged journey where every step forward must be paid for with effort, where there are no miracles, no shortcuts. From an early age, Capricorn understood, I must carry, I must endure, I must be strong. There's no other choice. While other children were encouraged to try and fail, Capricorn was taught, if you fail, you bear it yourself. While others were comforted, reassured, Capricorn heard, don't bother anyone, handle it yourself. And so, from childhood, they learned to swallow their tears, to clench their fists, to grit their teeth so the crying wouldn't escape. It is precisely Saturn's energy that shaped Capricorn into the bearer of responsibility even before they were strong enough to carry it. They grew up with the sense that if they didn't strive, no one would save them. If they collapsed, no one would lift them back up. And so, Capricorn doesn't know what it means to give up. Even when tired, even when hurting, even when shattered, they still get up, keep walking, keep carrying. But enduring in silence isn't just a habit. For Capricorn, it has become a way of life, an instinct, an inseparable part of who they are. Because Saturn doesn't just give them discipline, it burdens them with the responsibility of the entire world, like a challenge from the universe, like a test written into their destiny. They grow up believing that weakness is forbidden and strength is a duty that cannot be refused. And so Capricorn doesn't know what it means to give up. Even when tired, even when hurting, even when shattered, they still get up, keep walking, keep carrying, keep enduring. It is precisely Saturn's energy, the planet of karma, of consequence, of long and unforgiving cycles, that imprints on them this lesson. No one owes you anything. If you want something, you must earn it yourself. There's always a quiet question echoing inside their mind. If I don't do it, who will? And a clear answer that follows. If I fall, who will hold me up? That is both their strength and their curse, like an invisible thread pulling them forward, even when their legs have long since given out. They don't allow themselves to be weak, don't dare rely on others, don't know how to ask for help, don't know how to say, I need you. They turn themselves into a wall, a pillar, a rock for others to lean on, but they forget. Even rocks crack, even pillars wear down, even walls eventually crumble. Just as Saturn always teaches them about their own limits, reminding them that no one is immortal against time and the weight of life. And within that strength, they slowly become trapped, finding no way out for themselves. Capricorn carries within them a kind of loneliness that has no name, a solitude that doesn't come from lacking company, but from the feeling, no one truly understands what I'm carrying. They can stand in the middle of a crowd, surrounded by family, surrounded by friends, and still feel an invisible emptiness expanding inside. It's the loneliness of someone who always does more than what's asked, yet receives less than what's deserved. It's the quiet of a soul born under Saturn, a place where every lesson comes with limits, every reward arrives late, and every love must pass through trials. And so Capricorn keeps moving forward, like a lone climber staring at the peak, shoulders heavy with their pack, but no one sees the bleeding hands clinging to the rocks along the way. They're tired, but they don't dare rest. They're hurting, but they don't dare complain. They cry, but they don't let the tears fall in front of anyone, because Saturn has taught them only those who endure the trials deserve to reach the summit. And Capricorn accepts that, even though sometimes they don't even know where the summit is or whether anyone is waiting for them at the top. But sometimes that very strength turns Capricorn into a distant figure, making people forget that they too need to be held, need to be shared with. That's the price Saturn makes them pay, by teaching them to grow up too soon, to be independent too soon, to be resilient to the point where no one sees their softness anymore. When you see a Capricorn standing strong in the middle of the storm, maybe you don't realize, inside them, the storm has never stopped. People look at Capricorn and think they're so capable, they don't need anyone. They're so strong, who could possibly take care of them? That's the most common perception of an Earth sign ruled by Saturn. They exude calm, control, steadiness, but that very control unintentionally builds a wall separating them from the world. No one asks, "Are you okay?" No one notices the distant gaze, the forced smile they wear. No one thinks, maybe today I should carry some of their load. And so Capricorn drifts through long, quiet days, hiding their pain beneath the tasks that must be done, hiding their tears behind the words, "I'm fine," hiding their sorrow behind firm nods. They smile faintly, congratulate themselves in silence, then quietly mend their wounds in the dark. Because Saturn taught them how to get back up alone, but never taught them how to ask for help. They clean up their own shattered pieces, stitch up invisible tears, and keep walking as if they've never fallen. It's the solitude of someone who is never allowed to be weak. It's the loneliness of a soul that learned to stay silent to be accepted, learned to be strong so they wouldn't be left behind. There's a quiet, heartbreaking paradox few people ever notice. The more Capricorn endures, the less anyone sees they need love. And that is their deepest wound. Because Saturn isn't just the planet of trials, it's also the planet of distance. It creates invisible gaps, stretches relationships thin, leaves Capricorn standing just outside the circle of embrace, wanting to be close yet afraid of being touched. And so they stand there, alone, on the edge between strength and fragility, between admiration and indifference, between being the pillar for others and the quiet need to lean on someone. But that loneliness isn't the end. It creeps in, nurturing an even deeper, quieter obsession. The feeling of never being enough. That's Saturn's legacy. The planet that constantly sets limits, constantly tests, never allows rest. Even when Capricorn achieves what others dream of, they still feel, "I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not deserving enough." Because Saturn doesn't just teach them to try harder, it plants a quiet voice inside them. It's still not enough. You have to aim higher. You have to be better. That voice plays like a background track, looping endlessly in their mind. Not loud, but persistent. Not noisy, but haunting. Capricorn keeps setting higher standards, further goals, harsher expectations. Even when the sun, the moon, or other planets in their chart shine favorably, Saturn still whispers to them, it's not enough. And so they never feel satisfied, never dare to relax, never allow themselves to rest. They live like a climber, never allowing themselves to look down, never daring to turn back, never permitting a pause. Because to them, stopping means sliding backward, stopping means failing. They keep running, keep climbing, keep carrying, afraid that if they stop, everything will collapse. If they stop, they'll lose. If they stop, they'll forfeit it all. But at some point, when their legs give out, when their heart feels too cramped to hold anything more, when the summit begins to fade, they realize they're too tired, too lonely, too empty. And that's when their spirit starts to dim, quietly. Like Saturn, silently watching from afar, offering no comfort, no soothing, just silence, leaving them to face their own limits. Capricorn realizes the path they're on has no clear finish line. Every time they think they've arrived, Saturn builds another peak, lays down another lesson, throws up another challenge. And so they keep moving, keep pushing, keep asking, am I enough yet? But the answer is never enough. And perhaps that's Saturn's harshest lesson. The lesson that perfection doesn't exist, but the obsession with it never stops haunting them. And even in love, Capricorn cannot escape the shadow of Saturn. They enter love with caution, slowly, carefully, as if every step closer is a challenge to be overcome, because Saturn doesn't grant them reckless romance, doesn't gift them a heart that dances freely, but teaches them to love with responsibility, with commitment, with steadfastness. Capricorn doesn't love many, and they certainly don't love easily. They only give their heart when they feel safe enough, trusted enough, solid enough. But once they love, Capricorn gives everything. They give their whole heart, their whole future, their whole hope, holding nothing back for themselves. This is the love of an earth sign under the influence of the slowest planet in astrology, a love that doesn't blaze brightly, but burns steadily, persistently, firmly, like deep soil nurturing a long-living tree. And because they give it all, if that love is betrayed, neglected, abandoned, Capricorn doesn't scream, doesn't beg, doesn't cling. They simply go quiet, step back, and freeze their heart, like locking every door after a single collapse. For Capricorn, love isn't just a feeling. Love is a promise. It's a home built from bricks, from cement, from every solid stone. And when that home crumbles, they don't know how to rebuild it. They don't know how to start again. They don't believe it can be rebuilt. When Capricorn's heart closes, they no longer wait, no longer search, no longer hope for anything. That is the result of a journey Saturn has taught them. When trust is betrayed, hold on to yourself. They tell themselves, I won't love anyone again. I won't open up again. I won't trust again. And from that moment on, they stop dreaming of a place to lean on, a hand to hold, a heart to rest against. They return to being themselves, strong, resilient, but lonely to the very core. A loneliness like an echo from distant Saturn, cold, slow, persistent, reminding them that love, too, is a kind of responsibility, and not everyone has the strength to carry it with them. And so Capricorn still loves, but loves silently, still hopes, but hopes cautiously, still longs for a hand to hold, but doesn't dare reach out first. They wait, quietly, wait, like a lone sentry guarding a nearly extinguished lantern, hoping just once that someone will come close enough to see they were never as strong as they seem. And after everything, Capricorn is truly the child of Saturn, the planet of trials, limits, responsibility, where every lesson must be paid for with effort and patience. They grow up climbing invisible ladders built by Saturn, climbing endlessly, carrying endlessly, yet never feeling like they've arrived. This is the sign of those who carry the weight of the sky on their shoulders, even when their legs can no longer hold them, even when their heart is covered in countless scars. Capricorn is a rock on the outside, but a fragile heart on the inside. Someone who always braces themselves to be the pillar for others, yet has no one to lean on. Someone who always fulfills their duty, bears every responsibility, but rarely hears a word of thanks. Because Saturn taught them, happiness is not given, happiness must be built, even with scraped and bleeding hands. And they accept it, silently, enduringly, but still longing just once to be truly seen, truly understood, without words, just through a single knowing glance. Capricorn doesn't need you to take off their armor, because Saturn forged them into warriors wearing armor before they even knew how to take it off. They only need to know if one day they set it down, if one day they're too tired and stop, if one day they quietly sit by the roadside. Someone will be there to catch them, that's all. A presence safe enough, patient enough, trustworthy enough, so that Capricorn can believe. This time, I'm not alone. But Capricorn's journey doesn't end with those pains, because they must keep walking, keep holding on, keep searching for a reason to exist, and that journey begins right from their 20s, when the fear of failure quietly clings to them like an inseparable shadow. At this age, Capricorn carries the weight of not feeling worthy, the fear of being looked down upon, the fear that if they don't try hard enough, they'll be left behind. They throw themselves into studying, throw themselves into working, run faster than everyone else, forcing themselves to keep going even when their legs are already exhausted. Inside their mind, there's always a voice urging them, hurry up, be better, don't slow down. But the harder they try, the more they feel they're still not enough, still haven't achieved it, still haven't truly been recognized. They look around, see others getting praised, getting a pat on the back, getting comfort, while they're left with nothing but a sigh swallowed deep inside. And then, when night falls, when they're alone facing the mirror, 20-year-old Capricorn quietly stares at themselves, no longer sure who they're fighting for, what they're fighting for. They're tired, they're drained, they feel empty, yet they still don't dare admit it, because they're afraid that if they speak up, people will think, too weak, already failed. So they stay silent again, push themselves again, brace themselves again, as if they've never been allowed to rest. When they enter their 30s, the fear of failure is no longer the only thing haunting Capricorn, because by now, they no longer live solely for personal ambition. They've started to carry bigger roles on their shoulders, being a child, a lover, a spouse, a pillar. Responsibility calls their name everywhere, at work, within the family, in every relationship. And they do the only thing they know best: brace themselves, take everything in, refuse to let a single thing slip. They carry so much that they forget they once had a small dream, once had a day when they wanted to rest, once had a moment when they just wanted to be weak for once. But Capricorn at 30 doesn't allow themselves to be weak. In their mind, there are whispers that never let up. You're not allowed to be tired. No one's going to take care of you. If everything falls apart, only you can fix it. And so they keep walking, smiling through exhaustion, carrying through pain, staying silent through hurt. Capricorn at 30 sometimes wishes someone would come close, hold them, and say, you don't have to be strong anymore. You don't have to keep holding it together. Let me handle it. But that wish rarely comes true, because people still think they're fine, still believe they're capable, still assume they can always manage on their own. And that very belief weighs heavier than any burden they've ever carried. But then, as they step into their 40s, another question begins to echo in Capricorn's mind. Quiet, yet persistent, who am I living for? They look back at the years gone by, at the sleepless nights, at the endless efforts, and suddenly see an unnamed emptiness. They ask themselves, I've done so many things, but in the end, for whom? For what? And the answer all at once becomes blurry, faded, no longer as certain as before. At this age, Capricorn has achieved some accomplishments, has things to be proud of. But inside, they're starting to feel empty. They look around and see that their family doesn't need them as much as before, that their work has started to stabilize, that those they once carried are now able to walk on their own. And in their heart arises a quiet worry. Do people still need me? If one day I disappeared, would anyone notice? The feeling of no longer being needed begins to creep in, silently, slowly, like a tiny crack gradually spreading through the soul. Even though on the outside Capricorn remains successful, calm, admired by others, inside they quietly begin to question the meaning of their own existence. And if they don't stop in time, don't reconnect with themselves, don't listen to the true voice of their heart, they will become exhausted, lost, and lose themselves without even realizing it. And then, after the quiet questions of their 40s, after all the reflections that yielded no clear answers, Capricorn steps into the threshold of 50 with a desire simpler than ever before: to find peace. After all the hardships, all the losses, all the sacrifices, they begin to want to lay down the burdens they once held so tightly. They no longer want to run, no longer want to climb, no longer want to prove anything. They just want to live slower, breathe deeper, listen more closely to their own heart. At this age, Capricorn wants to love themselves more, something they never allowed themselves during their youth. They want to savor the little things, the simple joys, the moments that don't require rushing. They want to learn how to forgive themselves, learn how to soften, learn how to let go of unnecessary expectations. But it's also in this very moment, as everything starts to quiet down, that they feel lonelier than ever. They quietly watch life pass by, like an observer standing outside the flow. They see the young rushing forward, see the world changing, see the noise no longer belonging to them. And sometimes in those peaceful afternoons, they ask themselves, Does anyone truly see me? Does anyone still need me? And in those moments, Capricorn realizes peace isn't the absence of sorrow. It's learning to accept it as part of who they are. And perhaps, after all the years of bearing the weight, after all the roles they've carried, Capricorn only longs for one simple thing: to be seen, to be understood, to be quietly touched at the heart, without needing to remove their armor. Because Capricorn is not cold, not heartless, and certainly not someone who needs no one. They are simply someone who carries a fragile heart, hidden beneath the hard armor they were forced to wear to protect themselves from a world filled with too many challenges. Capricorn doesn't need you to take off their armor, doesn't need anyone to try breaking through that shell. They just need to know. If one day they lay it down, if one day they stop holding everything together, if one day they quietly fall, someone will be there to catch them. Just a hand reaching out, a gaze sincere enough, a simple phrase: "I see you, I'm here." And sometimes just that is enough to keep them here, enough to soothe the unspoken wounds. If you love a Capricorn, please don't assume they're okay. Please don't think their silence is a sign of peace, that their faint smile means contentment. Look closer, listen deeper, come nearer, because behind that strength is a heart longing to be loved. And if you are a Capricorn, please don't let yourself die in silence. Please don't believe you must carry everything alone to be worthy of love. You deserve love, even when you do nothing, even when you choose to let go, even when you're simply being yourself.